Hi, today in our Gear Hall of Shame series, we're looking at Akuma. He's a hero that's been popular ever since the day he was released, and that shows no sign of changing anytime soon. He's very famous for his kind of killing himself or dying and then coming back with invincibility for 9 turns and doing crazy damage. When he's got invincibility, you really need to be stripping that off him and killing him. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed. And actually, I did in the last war lose to a 550 team because I took in one Akuma and they managed to stun me. And that's something that I wasn't expecting because I didn't do my homework properly and read the hero card before I went in. So I'll definitely talk a little bit about Akuma's use in war towards the end of the video, but for now, let's look at my Akuma's gear. So right away, you can see I've got Determination set on him. I've also got Prayer set. It is my opinion that Determination is the best set for Akuma because it's going to help him gain mana based on his missing HP. Obviously, that's going to play a big feature when he's at 1 HP. And I think that when he's going up against 4 heroes in a war team, it really helps to be able to both fire his special and do tile damage in the same turn. That means that if things a little bit more complicated or you're not killing the heroes as quick as you'd like for some reason, you can cover yourself a little bit by using his special ability as well. Obviously, using a special set can sometimes come at the cost of worse stats because if you can't farm those artifacts, then you're a little stuck with what RNG gives you. Fortunately, the lucky dice can be something that are useful in this situation, especially if you have the desired star level. So 6 stars, for example, you have the right main stat, you have the right rarity. So maybe a legendary or an epic would be a good candidate, and you don't like the substats, and you can use the lucky dice to re-roll a new set of substats and choose between the original and the new one. So if we just look at this card, we can also see I've put this Blade of Agony relic on him. I haven't maxed this at all, but it just helps him deal a little bit more damage. For Akuma, because he's going to be at 1 HP, I really don't care about his defense and HP. I should say this is more of a conventional Akuma build. I haven't built res on him. I haven't built hope on him. This is like a very vanilla Akuma. So what you're looking at is attack, crit rate, and crit damage, and you want all of these to be as high as possible. You don't want to be building speed ideally, because the slower Akuma is, the more turns the enemy can get, and that means the faster you can get up to a higher turn order. So that means you can be doing big tile damage much sooner. With fewer turns on the invincibility kind of being used. So I'm kind of okay with these numbers. They're not great. They're not my best. If you look at my strongest attackers, you'll see kind of a higher crit damage usually than this. The attack is pretty good. I think that's because I've got good substats on this. I think I've got a CR glove, but we'll see shortly. I'm not fussed about his other attributes, to be honest. Again, this is a very vanilla Akuma build. I'm using the prayer set because I just wanted to do a little bit more damage. I think there were no Fury stuffs available at the time, but we can have another check once we're in the screen. So if we just look at this is CR, CD, double roll on CD, res, roll, HP percent. What I like, 6-star epic artifact with CR and CD. What I don't like is the roll on res is unnecessary and it doesn't really need the HP percent. I'd rather have an attack percent, but I'm not too fussy. This is a decent piece of gear. This one is attack, CR, and CD with a little bit of the speed. The roll on speed is not needed, but it's only small and his overall speed is still low, so I'm not too mad at that. The attack percent of 3 rolls is a very high substat. The only concern is usually for a damage dealer, I'm more worried about getting the CR pieces there. So there is a penalty to not building CR kind of equally over all of the pieces. If you look at the piece before, this was also low CR, it's 6%. That means I need to really make up the CR elsewhere. And usually I've seen that people don't favor building CR as gloves or heavy CR in isolated pieces because it usually comes at the sacrifice of other stats. If we look at the shield again, there's no CR on this, so this is becoming a little bit of a recurring theme on this build. I do see some accuracy, which is not needed, and I see some CD, HP percent, and res percent, again not needed. I don't like that this is only a rare piece of gear, so I would have liked different substats, more rolls on the substats too. If we look at the gloves, and you can see that I've had to go with a CR glove to make up for the lack of CR in other areas. I do appreciate the double roll on the attack percent. I will say that none of the other substats are useful at all. So kind of 2/3 of the way through, you can see why my Akuma is more like a trash Kuma. Very low CD so far, and that's what you saw in the card overall. We can also bring it up here. Only 130, even though the attack is decent because of the big substats that we've seen so far on the helmet and the gloves. If we look at the chest, this chest I am not really a fan of because it's a 5-star piece. I really want a 6-star piece. That's probably why I haven't leveled it to 15, because I'm hesitant about putting resources on a piece of gear I'm going to throw out the window at my first opportunity. I do like that they have rolls on CR and CD. You're going to see a recurring theme again, res and defense percent not needed. To be fair, there are not really many other stats that Akuma needs, so it's what it is. He only needs 3 stats, so a large portion of stats will be redundant. What is nice is a higher rarity artifact, so I could get more rolls on CR and CD, the ones that I actually do need. And the 5th one, again, it's a 5-star artifact, so I'm not so keen on this. Going from 50% at 5-star to 65% at 6-star makes a really big difference, especially over 2 pieces of gear. That's 30% overall. So that's a real shame. There's also no CR on this again. The res is a bit much. I would have preferred all rolls on the CD, of course. So for some reason, this actually has some res on it, but you can see with only 49% res overall, that's not going to be very good at resisting anything. To prevent anything from sticking, your res needs to be 100 above the enemy accuracy. And if you think that if you just look at this Akuma as an example, I haven't tried to build his accuracy at all. I've had some incidental accuracy from his gear and plus 30 from the cabinet. That gives me 46. So with a 46% accuracy on a hero that hasn't, say, been built with accuracy in mind, can still put a debuff on heroes like my Akuma. for example, for a hero with 46% accuracy, my Akuma would need 146% to resist, and you can see he's nowhere near that. He's not even halfway. So that's why it's a little bit of a waste. If we can just look at the gear, so the process that I go through if I've decided on the sets that I need is I'll select the sets. I'll usually show what is unequipped and also what is equipped so I can have a little feel for it. Let's say I'm considering Determination and Fury, and we can just check if the gear is available. I don't have enough coin to really do lots of unequips, but we can just see. So first of all, we can see there's quite a few pieces of gear. So we should use some filters to narrow it down. What I'd like to look at is the attack pieces. I did say that I wasn't happy with them. I don't see many here, so I'll show the equipped ones. And right away, we can see there are some 6-star ones. There are some 6-star Furies here. They're both on Mobrook, which I knew about because I had put full Fury on him. And if I look at them, I could equip these two. My question would be, what do I do with the gloves? So what I'm doing is I'm just checking that the pieces exist. And I am a very big stealer of gear. So I don't mind stealing gear from someone. So I could also steal the CD gloves from a brook here. Or I could use these CD gloves. These CD gloves I really don't like because there's no CR substat at all. I usually want all of my CD gloves to have CR. So now that we know that CR is an issue, we're going to check for the pieces with CR. So I'm going to show you this again. I'm showing both the equipped and the unequipped. I've picked the two sets, Determination and Fury, that I'm interested in. I know I've only got 6-star and 5-star gear, so I haven't put a filter there. I'm not putting a filter on the main stat because I know I want to boost my substat, which is CR, and that's why I'm picking CR in the substat here. I'm ordering it by substat 1, so it shows the highest first. And I know that my options for increasing my attack are going to be using the Fury gear, so I can focus on the Determination gear when I look for these subsets. So I just look at them in order. So this is a 16. This is nice. I want to... So if I would take these gloves off, I would go down by 62. So I need to make up 62. So this is 16. This is 7. So that would make 23. I'm still around 40 out. That's going to be difficult. So this is just 2 more in here. Those gloves will give me 13. So I'm still around 30 out. I do have these different boots, which will give me 10. So I'm 20 out. Still not very ideal. So I could try checking where my weapon is. My weapon is the highest CR in here so far. That's not very good. So we have this other one. I'm just going to try to upgrade to see if I'm any luckier with the rolls. No, I'm not. So we're going to leave that for now. I might sell it later. We can look at the other pieces. Are they interesting? No, they're not relevant for us today. So we can conclude that basically I'm still not in a very good position for CR with my gear. If I would take off the CR gloves, I'd be down 60 and I can only make around 40 back. right? Let's look at this again. Here, this is 16 back. This, I'm looking at the increase at the bottom of the screen. 16 plus 7, 23 plus 2, 25. If I do this, this is tricky. Here I'm looking here at the 13 plus from 25 plus 13 is 38. 38 looking here plus 10, 48. So that's not bad actually. That means I'm only 10 out. Let me check again what the relic does. I don't think it does any increase in CD. Nope. So that's a different option. So what I am going to do is just try to swap it out. I know that my crit rate is no longer going to be at 100, but I'll at least get to see how it changes, and you can see kind of how I do my re-equips when I don't strip the gear completely. So I'll go to my CR and I'll again just replace the pieces. I think I was looking at these. I think Mabruk will still be fine. I'll need to re-equip him later, but he has plenty of fury on him, so he'll survive. He'll still be okay-ish. I try to focus on one hero at a time, so I decide who I can steal off, who I can't steal off, and I make judgments on whether I prioritize my hero that I'm looking at on the screen over the hero that currently is wearing that piece of gear. It is a shame that I can't put a 6-star boot on here, but I don't have any other options, I think, for my gloves, chest, boots. I always look at the main stats for my gloves, chest, boots first. And today I had fury for all of them. I had determination for the boots only, so the boots get the determination. And here I don't know if I messed up the maths or if I could have done something different. Okay, maybe I was 10 off after all. 86, it's okay. 86 is enough to do some damage against the higher color affinity. CD of 176 is better than before. Attack is a little bit lower, but I think this is probably okay. Seeing as the previous build had such a huge attack substat everywhere, I'm okay with this. It's a little bit of a shame on the crit rate. I could even just change up this relic since I haven't maxed it and put a the dice relic on here. So what I do, when I look for relics, check the first and third box and see what's left. So this could be an option, crit rate increased by 10. If I wanted the crit rate to get to as close to 100 as possible, that's what I would pick. And I don't mind, again, because I haven't maxed this relic at all. So obviously I haven't leveled these pieces to 15. So if I would level these boots, they have still some way to go. But let's talk a little bit about Akuma's usage in war. So he's most famous for being used in the war offense, going as a one-man team against 4. And Sid has done a video of that on YouTube where he shows that you go in without any machines, you go in with a purple dragon, you wait for the enemies to tell your Akuma, and then you start picking off the weakest heroes, forcing Nefri to do the revive if she's there, kind of increasing from the squishiest heroes to the tankiest heroes as your tile damage compounds with increasing number of turns and crowd one's blood, all that stuff. But I also want to talk a little bit about going in with Akuma, what kind of things you want to be looking out for. So first of all, you don't want to go against heroes that remove statuses, especially if you have a low resistance, and you don't want to go against heroes who have guaranteed chance to dispel. And what you can do, what I do often, is go away all of these screens. Go into Lexicon, use these filters. So you can view all of these cleanse heroes. You probably want to avoid these. Probably going to be focusing on the epics and legendaries. Sorry, not cleanse, strip. Yeah, I did wonder why those heroes looked a bit unfamiliar. So these are the strip heroes, like Disrain has the guaranteed chance to strip. Polis also has that, and Mazos has that as well. So be sure to kind of look into the card specifically and look for nuances in the way that they are designed. I would also recommend be very careful of crowd control heroes. Here you want to look for freeze, sleep, stun, silence to a lesser extent. So you want to be avoiding all of these, but you do want to be aware that some of the heroes also commonly have the stun set on them. Right now, the most prominent example is Zoe. If you go into Arena, kind of every Zoe in there has a stun set on her. I lost to Gerda that I mentioned in the beginning of the battle, because when I read her abilities quickly before the start of the battle, I didn't see anything special. It's because it was under this wall of text. You can see here. 100 chance to inflict stun for 3 turns when using her special ability. If target has less than 50 HP, since Akuma has 1 HP, he's definitely less than 50, and she was putting stun on him. He was not having a good day. So, lessons learned, Gerda is good for something. She's good for killing unsuspecting Akumas. We can have a look at some of the other statuses that we want to be careful of. I think there aren't many. One you could be careful of is Goatee. Let's show her. So she will decrease the number of turns of positive statuses by 2. So for Akuma, that's pretty relevant because he's going to be slow, she's going to be fast. If she goes off twice before his turn, he can go from 9 invincibility turns to 5. And that's basically almost halving it, right? So be very careful against her as well. She also obviously has a chance to remove, but if anyone comes up with this similar mechanic where they reduce the number of turns of the buffs, that's going to be problematic. We can also look at some of the effects. I always find that it's a little bit trickier to go against a taunt hero because I can't target the heroes in the order that I want. So what's going on here? Taunt. Yeah. So the main taunt at legendary level is going to be Alexander. And even though he's green and Akuma has color advantage against him, many are built extremely strong. Otherwise, another common one is Najar, and he can also be extremely tanky. Akuma doesn't have color advantage over him, of course. And then the other two famous ones are probably Martin and Calum. The other thing I would say to be careful of is there are heroes that could have bandit set, and this set removes statuses when you deal damage with tiles. Obviously you can't always know who has bandit set, but you can work backwards to think of which heroes have the possibility of bandage set. There are certain heroes that are usually built in a very specific way, and there are heroes that can have a variety of different builds. And this is in a way something that I want to show with this gear series. I've said that my Akuma, Trash Kuma, is a vanilla Akuma. He's built for damage. A less vanilla build would be, for example, to build high res on him. And that is to subvert the expectation of the player. And a high res Akuma, for example, could do really well on a defense team. When you go in as an attacker with your own Akuma, think about the heroes that they have. So we could look at some examples. For example, Zarkon is usually built in a certain way. He has high accuracy, of course, but usually people are going to build his accuracy to an extent that he's very fast, because that's what his passive ability is about, and that's kind of hindering people usually from putting bandit set on Zarkon. Gabriella is also another good example. She's going to be built for res and damage and survivability. It's really hard to hit more than 3 stats. 4 stats is really challenging. So she doesn't have room for bandit set. I would say the kind of candidates for bandit set, we can look at Karagon as being one. I don't have him, but a lot of Karagons do have bandit set. What you can see is someone who doesn't need to hit big stat targets. So Karagon doesn't need a crit rate of 100. He doesn't need a high CD. He doesn't need a high attack. He doesn't need a high speed necessarily. He doesn't need a high res. So using bandit set, he can get by with high defense, high HP, moderate or high-ish accuracy. Nothing in the 200s, but maybe in the kind of 70 to 150 range, let's say. Those numbers can be effective. And you can see that being true also for a hero like Nefri or another reviver, to be honest. You can probably see it happening for a support hero that doesn't need to be super fast. So basically anyone who has a little bit of room left in their build. So Durgal could be one who has a bit of room left in his build. Zerfar would probably not be one in most cases, because Zerfar is usually built really fast. So it's tricky. There's definitely an element of trial and error, but to some extent you can guess. You can ask yourself, is it feasible that some of these heroes might have bandit set on them? And try to see what you would come up with. So let's just take, for example, I'm going up against the defense team of Brody, Isabel. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to go in. Brody, Isabel, Cassia, Necros, just my top 4 up here. Would this be a good team for Akuma? Obviously not, because Necros is going to prevent the resurrect. What if it was Aurora, Brody, Isabel, and Cassia? Well, then none of these heroes have a remove in of themselves, which is good. Aurora is usually built really fast and tanky with the leftover stats, so I wouldn't expect her to have bandit set. Brody is usually built more for damage because of his role as a farmer and sometimes an AoE. So I wouldn't really expect bandit set on him either. Isabel would be the main question mark here because she's not a popular hero. That means you can't really make any assumptions based on her build, based on what you've seen of other people's Isabels, which is in contrast to, say, Aurora, Brody, and Cassia, and a lot of the heroes, because I've seen, for example, I must have seen 300 Auroras, and they're all pretty much built the same way. I've seen maybe 50 Cassias, and they're all built the same way, whereas maybe I've seen one Isabel, so I can't tell you what the future Isabel is going to be like. And there's so many possibilities in building her. And I'm just using Isabel as an example. There could be any other hero who is not really used, maybe underrated, and has abilities that are a little bit of a jack of all trades. They do a little bit of damage, they do a little bit of debuffing, they do a little bit of crowd control, they do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It can be really hard to guess which direction that person has gone for their hero. So I think that is that for today. I'll just show my Akuma on the screen again. We covered quite a lot of ground today, from his build in particular. We went through how I do a quick re-equip without completely stripping a hero. We talked about potentially augmenting this build with the CR relic. We talked about his use on offense for war, and I think that's plenty. So if you found this video helpful or interesting, I really appreciate it if you could share it or recommend it to someone. It's always nice to get views, obviously. Please leave a like and a comment if you can. Let me know which heroes you're interested to see. Thank you for those who have participated in those discussions so far and shown me some of your heroes. It's always interesting to see how different people approach the same hero. Obviously, I have this video as part of my gear review series, so be sure to check out the rest of this series. Currently, I'm doing a hero review every Friday, and I'm bringing out the 3 Ways to Rifts, the revamp series, every Monday. So look out for that as well. And as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.